Story 1, Lawyer. Dramatic objections on television. In real life, mountains of paperwork and emails. Story 2, Architecture. Expectations. Building a Greek temple and talking to wealthy clients. Reality. Managing subcontractor errors and handling planning department requirements. Story 3, I am a zookeeper. It is not always miserable, but working in temperatures above 100 degrees, performing physical labor, constantly explaining to people that the animals do have water even if you do not see a bowl, and saying goodbye to many friends takes its toll. I am still very happy to do it, but some days are very hard. Story 4, All careers are here. We are not alone in our suffering, as I can see. Story 5, Animal care. I used to work as an animal control officer and everyone thought I was saving lives. But in reality, my shelter was performing more euthanasia than adoptions. Every day I felt a bit defeated. Many of the animals I brought in, about 7 out of 10, would be euthanized. The people I caught for animal abuse would only receive a fine, and I constantly felt miserable. Story 6. My father's side of the family all currently work or have worked in the entertainment industry. This means they have had some very famous clients. The whole experience is something I've seen my entire life. Being a celebrity looks glamorous, and it can be at times, but it can also be miserable. Your mental health suffers, you get zero privacy, and the hours on set can be horrible. People also act like they're entitled to your time and attention just because they saw you on a screen. Sometimes you don't know who likes you for you or just for the fame and money. Bonus effect. My dad is a makeup artist. He was gone for 10 months once when I was a kid during the 1990s because of one boring 4-hour-long movie about the American Civil War. I had almost no phone calls with my father for nearly a year. Being gone for months on end was normal. You can miss a lot of time with your family and friends. It isn't all bad, though. It's been cool to meet celebrities that I'm a fan of and see movies and television from behind the scenes. I've been to some fun premieres. Several family members belong to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, so the free movies are a good perk. Story 7. Being a chef looks fancy on television, but in reality, it involves heat, burns, stress, and no social life. Story 8. Neurosurgeon. Yes, it pays a lot. Yes, it is fulfilling. Yes, it earns you respect. But you do not see the sun if you work in a major city, as a trauma center cannot be open without a neurosurgeon. It is a workaholic's dream. You do not get to have a social life. Residency lasts 7 years with average pay but more than 100 hours a week if assigned to trauma. Then, as an attending physician, you have similar work hours but with much greater pay. It makes you very wealthy but miserable. Story 9. I am a lawyer working in-house at a bank. People think law is exciting and finance is exciting, so they assume my job is very exciting. In reality, it involves reading numerous complex regulations and rules, writing memos advising against certain types of business, only to be ignored by senior executives because all they see are dollar signs. Story 10. Teaching English in Japan can be challenging. Unless you have a master's degree and a teaching license from your home country, it can be difficult to be considered a professional teacher. The pay is stagnant, and there is little opportunity for growth. Most English teaching positions focus on sales or childcare rather than teaching. Recently, many people have been seeking affordable lessons online from individuals in other countries, which cost significantly less than in-person lessons from native speakers. Many Western enthusiasts are competing for low-quality jobs, so companies have little incentive to increase salaries. Story 11. Anything where you are famous looks absolutely miserable to me. It just seems like a constant grind to stay relevant and maintain a personal brand. I hate getting up at 7:30 on a Monday morning, but at least I can go to the office, get a cup of tea, I quit coffee, and everyone else is also like, I hate Mondays. Then I can browse Reddit for a couple of hours until the day starts, go to lunch, send a few emails, and leave at 3. Then I get to work from home the rest of the week. I cannot imagine how much it must suck to have to constantly be on, projecting an image, with people financially incentivized to ensure you stay on and project your brand at all times. I would go insane. I am sure the money is nice, but at least my time off is my own. No one really cares enough to bother me. Story 12. Professional musician. On television, It's glamour, fancy clothes, everyone loves you, and you can be with whoever you want. Reality. Gigs, no social life, touring in a smelly van, singing the same songs repeatedly. If you gain a pound, people say you are pregnant if a woman or call you a pig if a man. Many people dislike you. You are usually booked on most holidays, so you cannot spend time with family. Story 13. Archaeologist. If you are doing field work actually at the dig site and not in the laboratory, you are out in the elements. For a Phase 1 dig, if you are conducting an archaeological survey of land before any planned construction, you have to dig 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter square holes every 40 meters or so. It really depends on laws in the area and the type of project. In order to dig those holes, you have to carry a screen, a bucket, a shovel, and your trowel. You are carrying this, plus your personal items and some water, over sometimes challenging terrain. Imagine overgrown grass on hillsides with bugs. And you are outside in the sun because digging when it is raining is not a good idea. Story 14. Working on a cruise ship involves 12-hour days, little to no days off, and low pay. Contracts last 8 to 12 months without breaks. You might think you get to see the world, but you rarely leave the ship. Additionally, living quarters are extremely cramped with little to no privacy. Story 15. Any type of creative work of any kind. Art, music, visual effects, photography, dance, game development, and more. You come in thinking you are going to make a difference with your hard-earned skills and the voice you developed over time. You put the work in. Congratulations. No one who can employ you cares. They do not respect your time or effort. They just want something awesome, and they don't want to pay you for it. Also, they need it immediately. They need 1,500 changes to it immediately. They are not paying you. There are 15 more projects that you are behind on. If you don't want to do it, that is fine. There are hundreds of younger people ready to work for less than you are earning. You're working tonight and this weekend. We need to get this out the door because we are a team. Story 16. Fitness, specifically boutique Pilates. It looks pretty on the outside. Beautiful people in beautiful studios. But the reality is I work 45 hours a week on my feet, teaching Pilates to wealthy people who treat me like the help. Then I go home with my emotional and physical energy completely drained. That said, I love my job, so it is fine. Story 17. Influencers. An empty vessel makes the most noise. Story 18. Fashion design involves creating clothing from scratch, starting with measurements and ending with the final garment. It is far less glamorous than media often portrays. The field is highly competitive, offers low pay, and requires very long hours. Many students in design programs switch to merchandising after experiencing the intensity. Story 19. Flight attendant. I used to think it looked so glamorous as a kid, getting to fly all over the world. Now I see that on some airlines, much of their labor and time is not compensated when the flights are on the ground, which is something they are still fighting for. Story 20. Scientist. It is a flexible job, but the pendulum swings both ways. You can be working 70-hour weeks, even encouraged to do so by your supervisor, and it may all be for nothing if your research does not yield the expected results. Your supervisor is likely the top expert in the field, so if they harass or bully you, there is little chance they will be fired or dismissed by the university. Colleagues often witness abuse but keep their heads down to protect themselves. There are short contracts and low pay. You will spend most of your time cleaning the lab and disposing of hazardous waste. If you do not find or publish anything within the time frame of a short contract, it can effectively end your career. Story 21. Check out this thread about how nearly every career has its challenges. Story 22. Each career I considered is disappointing. It is mentioned in this thread. Now I am scared to even apply for Reddit moderators. Story 23. Being a counselor, especially for mental health, appears rewarding as it involves helping people navigate life and incorporating activities to help them decompress or express themselves artistically. However, it can be deeply challenging and requires a lot of patience and genuine care. Dealing with a mentally unwell child experiencing out-of-control tantrums or behavior is exhausting. Unfortunately, The issues often persist within families and continue to be passed down. Story 24. Game development. No matter the role except perhaps executive producer. Story 25. Long-distance truck drivers. Glamorous side. Wide open roads. Being your own boss. Reality. Deep vein thrombosis, obesity, sleep disorders, and urinating in a plastic bottle. Story 26. Personal trainers. It is very hard to make a livable wage unless you are self-employed. Work hours are typically before and after people get out of work, such as 5 to 8 a.m. or 5 to 9 p.m. You end up scraping for whatever work you can find in between. Often, you work as an independent contractor, so there are no insurance plans, and pay is very inconsistent if you do not have a steady client funnel, which can take years to develop. 80% of the job is just being a listener, not really a trainer. You will teach the same things, usually to beginners, repeatedly. 9 times out of 10, your steady paycheck comes from a 55-year-old client with bad knees who wants to vent about work, not from social media models. Lastly, it can be a highly toxic work environment. Managers, clients, and trainers are often involved in personal relationships, and it is expected that if you are a female trainer, upper management may try to date you. Being sexualized is almost part of the job. The social media aspect is also challenging, as you deal with various difficult personalities seeking fame. If you choose this career, you must truly love helping people exercise and teaching nutrition, to the point where you are willing to do it for free, because in your first few years you likely will. A little-known fact is that the typical career lifespan of a personal trainer is 1 year. Story 27. Any middle management job at a major corporation. The money is great, but you are actively supervising a large team and sometimes have to do their jobs if they are not available. Additionally, you work for the success of the higher executives above you and frequently get trapped into preparing their presentations or conference meetings. You cannot win. It is always going to be your fault. Story 28. Sonographer. Specifically obstetrics and gynecology sonographer. Many people I tell what I do say, "Oh my God, I almost did this. Your job must be the best. We are the first to see fetal abnormalities and fetal death. I have gotten blood on me and all over my floor from women miscarrying. In my practice, I am the one who tells the expecting mother or parents their baby has no heartbeat. Let me tell you, it does not get easier. I have to tolerate people recording me and act cheerful because otherwise, I am seen as rude. I have had people stick their phone in my face or at my screen, excited, while I am trying to get through the exam knowing their baby does not have a skull, all while forcing a smile until I can leave the room. I understand that baby ultrasounds are fun when they are fun, but the world needs to understand it is not always rainbows and sunshine. Story 29. Media and radio, in my personal experience, involve long hours, poor pay, rampant sexism, and being constantly told there is a line of people wanting your job if you dare to step out of line. I am nearly 10 years removed from my time in the industry, and aside from therapy, one of the main things that helped me recover from the damage to my mental health was the realization that I was not alone. I found out later many of my colleagues had turned to alcohol or drugs to deal with the stress or had stories similar to my own. Story 30. Most science, technology, engineering, and mathematics and arts-related jobs are overworked and underpaid. Story 31. A sports agent or a talent agent manages the careers of talented individuals. Their role involves guiding and supporting clients to achieve success. Story 32. Air traffic controllers have a very high stress and difficult job. Story 33. I would say anything related to animals such as veterinary care, rescue, or caretaking. Many people want to have an animal shelter, but I just imagine the smell of dozens of animals that were previously on the street. There are also sad cases where animals arrive only to die due to previous injuries or because they are too hostile. In such cases, other animals could be in danger and may have to be sacrificed. Story 34. My brother used to fly to Europe from the United Kingdom on business quite frequently. He had a fairly senior job. I worked on one site doing interesting things but often said it must be nice to travel for work. Listen, he said. I get up early, deal with hassle all the way to City Airport, then take a short flight, so I am in a small plane for an hour. A taxi takes me to a large industrial site with plain buildings. I go to the meeting room, attend meetings, then go to the office to work on spreadsheets and other tasks on the computer. I grab lunch, work until about 7 p.m., take a taxi to the airport, and then fly back. Repeat. Home. Exhausted. This was before Microsoft Teams and Slack. Put it this way, it is not like the advertisements. Story 35. As a child, I admired the police and law enforcement in general. Chase the bad guys, investigate crime scenes, bring them to justice, be the hero. It turns out the general role of law enforcement in society is more to protect property rather than people. Keep in mind that I only considered joining the force when I was younger, but life took me on a different path. Story 36. Teaching in kindergarten through 12th grade. You watch Matilda and walk away thinking that teaching is a job where you can wear your heart on your sleeve and genuinely change lives. 90% of the time you are drowning in grading or paperwork. The other 10% of the time there is a fire drill the day before state testing. Story 37. Science and academia involve significant politics, especially during deadlines and high-pressure periods. There is very little respect, and egotistical professors often undermine their researchers. Story 38. Being an executive in a Fortune 500 company, I think Jack Welch said, "Everybody wants my paycheck, but nobody wants my life." You are under tremendous stress to constantly achieve a never-ending raised bar of targets. You are dealing with many people, each with their unique set of problems. You do not have the mental relief of knowing the work ends at 6 p.m. Work never ends. As many people want your position, you have to deal with unpleasant office politics all the time. Your family enjoys a comfortable life with all the financial benefits. But because of travel and endless meetings, you miss critical moments in your children's lives. In the end, these positions have a shelf life. You either encounter a sociopathic manager, the higher you go, the higher the chances, or the company decides to restructure and lets you go. Finding a similar job with the same title and salary is extremely hard because the pyramid narrows at the top. You end up losing the power you are used to having, which is psychologically taxing if you have not prepared yourself. Being an executive has probably become your identity at that point. Some people commit suicide when they are fired or develop health issues. I really like being an executive. If I did not like it, I honestly think it is one of the worst jobs to do for money. Story 39. Anything marketing. It's constant brainstorming, campaigns, social media strategies, ad boosting, content development, public relations, search engine optimization and search engine marketing, activations, events, and much more. The questions, how do we go viral, make it more creative, and can we make it pop, are real challenges that we face every day. Running out of creative ideas feels like a sin, and the environment is so fast-paced it can burn you out before you know it. We are nothing like Emily in Paris. Story 40. Software developer or engineer, or anything software-related. Expectation. Hackers, CIA activities, green text galore like the Matrix. Reality. Working 24/7 because people assume you have a laptop or PC at home, so you need to fix it anytime, anywhere, while browsing Google for answers to every problem you encounter. Story 41. Working in the National Health Service mainly involves dealing with chronic underfunding, high expectations, and a lack of respect. Story 42. Management consulting. While business travel can be enjoyable, in the end, it often involves preparing presentations late into the night. Story 43. Diplomats and embassies represent a lifestyle, not a typical 9-to-5 job. There is little to no personal life except if you are married. Spouses move with you and essentially wait at home, occasionally participating in events. Networking is essential and expected, but you are not paid for the hours. Workdays often extend to 12 to 14 hours, including weekends. Networking and events continue during weekends as well. You cannot fully trust anyone outside your organization. The environment is extremely hierarchical, similar to the military. Personal opinions and values do not matter. Your role is to express your government's opinions and values. Story 44. Game development. You will spend almost no time at all playing games, even if you are quality assurance. Upper management is almost always someone who knows nothing about how games are made. Players think they understand how games are made, but they are actually completely out of touch and relying on the Dunning-Kruger effect. Many of them are mean as a result. You can do an amazing job given bad circumstances, but at the end of the day, the quality of the result is not always in your hands. Story 45. Sales can be like this. Free new car, lots of travel. But that all gets old pretty quick when you have to spend so much time away from family. Lots of time away living out of a suitcase gets pretty tiring. Management is another one. Most of the issues get handled by your direct reports, so the only ones that reach you are the difficult, thorny ones. But nice car, office, and travel. Yes, no, see my comment above. Story 46. Special education teacher. Too much paperwork and endless meetings. It would not be so bad if you could just teach. Story 47. Most of the entry-level jobs in the media industry pay barely enough to get by. People pursue them in the hope that these positions will be stepping stones to more lucrative work as creatives. I know many production assistants who have the qualifications to work in higher-paying jobs but wear their job title as a badge of honor. Story 48. Air hostesses look glamorous, but the job I have heard is anything but. Story 49. Anything where someone has to pay you to do it is likely to be flawed in some way. Story 50. Flight attendants. Everyone thinks it is glamorous traveling the world, but it involves exhausting schedules, jet lag, strict rules, and dealing with rude passengers. Story 51. Teaching is not a job people should choose just for summer off. Students and their parents can be challenging, and administrators without teaching experience often believe they can do the job better, which is not always the case. Story 52. Physicians are often believed to earn more than $500,000, but the reality is much less. They also carry massive student debt and must deal with insurance companies and administrators dictating care. Story 53. Not exactly glamorous per se, but the number of people who assume library assistants sit around reading all day staggers me. I wish that were the case when I am closing the public bathrooms because someone has destroyed them again. Story 54. Massage therapist. Story 55. I have heard that being a fighter pilot involves hundreds of hours of boredom with a few minutes of intense fear. Story 56. Luxury real estate agent. All stress. No glamour unless you make millions. Story 57. Real estate agents face a lot of competition, irregular pay, and must take on various roles to manage many tasks independently. Story 58. I believe many still see it as a beautiful job, but being a chef involves strong smells. Sweat especially in summer, unpleasant guests, sudden requests for items you don't have, or allergies you didn't even know existed. You are always running around and getting yelled at for being half a minute too slow. There may also be 1 to 3 hot pans flying over your head. Many kitchens lack proper hygiene, especially when someone is sick. Believe me, these people would rather collapse than go home and rest. Story 59. Journalism. I have seen many young girls entering journalism to become Carrie Bradshaw, or young boys thinking they will investigate some kind of political or criminal themes. With the Carrie Bradshaw dream, even those who work in this field work much more and get paid much less. You still need to deserve this opportunity. In reality, most of them write boring texts that have more to do with copywriting than journalism and work in local news. It mostly involves producing the same kind of texts or videos repeatedly on topics that no one cares about. Only a small number of those who study journalism actually do something interesting. Story 60. Airline cabin crew travel the world for free. Sounds amazing until you realize it involves red-eye shifts, jet lag, unruly passengers, strict grooming rules, living out of a suitcase, and pay that often is not great. Story 61. I can think of a few: flight attendant, pilot, social media content creators, executive-level roles that require a lot of travel, and entrepreneurs. Story 62. I fly a lot and observe what flight attendants have to endure as cabin crew for a busload of entitled and unappreciative passengers. There used to be prestige associated with being a stewardess. Flight attendants, not so much. Story 63. Travel influencer. Free travel and the opportunity to see the world, but with constant pressure, unstable income, and travel burnout. Story 64. Professional musician. People picture concerts and fame, But the grind is constant touring, unstable income, late nights, and the stress of never knowing if you will actually make it. Story 65. Many people think mail carriers walk around leisurely all day and then go home early. Story 66. Entertainment. I am a dancer and people think it's glamorous, which it is, and that I'm rich, which I'm not. It involves a lot of preparation for shows, practicing, costuming, working out to stay fit, and constantly marketing my skills to find work. If I get injured or sick, I'm unable to work. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but people often assume I get paid thousands of dollars just to show up. It's not quite like that. If I secure a contract for long-term work, that is ideal. Story 67. Flight attendant work seems like travel and fun, but it is mostly jet lag, cranky passengers, and recycled air. Story 68. Professional musician. I work at an opera house, and the musicians treat it very much like a job. You come in, play, and leave. Once they have finished, they are out the door so quickly it is unbelievable. Story 69. Game development. You might think you get to play games all day, but generally you deal with a chief executive officer who makes unreasonable demands that cause you to work a lot of overtime. If you get lucky, you will find an amazing company, but generally you assume it will be a bit of a mess. There is a reason it takes a long time to make games, and it is not because of the developers. Always assume it is some corporate executive not listening to the people who know what they are doing. Story 70. Cybersecurity. I love it because it is a lot like a really complicated and high-stakes puzzle game, but it is very far from what people think it is. Most of the job is basically fighting against either non-cooperative management or the negligence and technical illiteracy of the general population. Even quite large corporations tend to not care about cybersecurity until they are hit with something serious, and then they start complaining about how bad the situation is. Also, in most cases, malicious actors do not hack the infrastructure itself. They hack people, such as with fake emails. This is not just an issue for older people. All age groups have a significant part that completely lacks such literacy and basic skills, such as not clicking on links that come from suspicious sources. By this year, it is estimated that there is as much money in cybercrime as in drug trafficking. Yet most people have significantly less awareness about cybercrime and its indicators than they do about spotting shady individuals or bad neighborhoods to avoid. Story 71. I wouldn't say miserable, but as a florist, people often say, "It must be lovely playing with flowers all day." And I think, do you think this is a game? I am on my feet over 60 hours a week, doing lots of heavy lifting, dealing with terrible arthritis, with my hands covered in scratches and permanently dirty. I spend half a shift bending over to scrub buckets with bleach. I love the work, but it is not glamorous, no matter what the Hallmark Channel tells you. Oh, and the customers can be very challenging. Story 72. Working anywhere near the college or professional sports world offers a poor work-life balance and low pay. It also changes the way you view the game. Story 73. Paralegal, long hours, impossible workloads, demanding coworkers for less than teacher pay. Sheriff, you are essentially on call 24/7. You respond to fatal accidents, crime scenes, and more. You witness a lot of difficult situations. Story 74. Another one for lawyer. Every lawyer I have known, including family members, has had nothing good to say about it except that the pay is good, sometimes phenomenal, but you suffer for it. I went in the opposite direction and became a teacher, but I am not sure that was a great choice either. It is obviously not a glamorous profession. I was hoping to make a positive change in the world. I suppose I have, but sometimes I am not sure it will matter with where things are going. Story 75. As a flower farmer, flower farming is 100% hard work. Instagram features gorgeous bouquets loaded with flowers, but in reality, it is 98% grunt work in every type of weather. I own the hardiest cold weather gear and the lightest summer wear to get me through. Story 76. I just don't understand why we work ourselves into the ground. Why is this the expectation? Still, in this day and age where everything is at our fingertips in terms of technology, connection, and advice. Would society not benefit from shorter working hours and more open positions across different trades and careers? Would society not benefit from, for example, neurosurgeons having full nights, of sleep and performing only one surgery per day. I just don't understand how we got here. Laborers need to labor. We all need to work and contribute, but why do we concentrate all of the work into a few, harming ourselves to make it happen? Everyone is sick and tired. We collectively need more time to rest, recover, and spend quality time with loved ones and doing what we actually love. I'm so tired. Story 77. Marine biologist. People think it is scuba diving in tropical coral reefs and swimming with dolphins. It can be that sometimes, but usually it is worrying about the pH level of tanks before the fish die and being a glorified janitor in cold, dark, wet rooms. The pay is low. Story 78. A lot of celebrities are not nearly as well off as people think. Many individuals in the entertainment industry, such as rappers, fake having more money than they do because it fits the lifestyle and image that is part of their brand. They rent out wealthy people's houses for a short time and take photos and videos there to make it appear as if they live there. A voice actor once explained that even though they were very successful and on paper earned twice as much as they did at their previous job, as independent contractors, voice actors handle their own taxes, insurance, and other expenses. As a result, their take-home pay was about the same. Additionally, fame is very difficult. We are aware of all the negative aspects that come with fame. If you have a glamorous job and become famous, you probably do not make nearly as much money as people assume. At the same time, you face constant judgment, stalking, death threats, and pressure to be perfect and knowledgeable all the time, even though your profession involves playing pretend for a living. Story 79. Advertising is not like Mad Men, except it kind of is. I love my industry, but it gets exhausting fast. Story 80. I was just thinking that famous musicians who tour a lot must feel miserable at times. Sure, they have fame, can be with anyone they want, and have a lot of fun. But the constant traveling, performing night after night, and the highs and lows sound very depressing. Perhaps that is partly why so many turn to alcohol and drugs. Then again, maybe I am just coping because I would have loved to be a famous singer. Story 81. Working in information technology is probably not for everyone. But for me, it is soul-crushing to have to sit behind a screen all day. Story 82. Dog groomer. It looks fun to give puppies cute haircuts, but in reality, it is all just waste and neglect. Story 83. Wing in the military, particularly the Navy. The lifestyle is hard to understand without experiencing it, but they recruit with promises of a career and further education. Those opportunities exist, but the costs become clear only by the time you reach retirement, which is often too late since you have already paid the price. Most people won't tell you it isn't worth it because they have already passed the point of no return. Previously, deployments lasted about 6 months, but those have not been common since the early 2000s. Now, deployments extend past 9 months with multiple extensions, including travel time of a few months at a time. The environment requires conditioning over time to feel normal. This rotation occurs within about 3 years. Meanwhile, your family and friends may feel stuck or move on without you, and the true reward only comes after 20 years. Additionally, the calling is different for people now compared to when I joined. Expectations and motivations are not the same, especially since your success depends on the success of your team. Story 84. I am not sure if this counts, but I used to be a government affairs director, and that was a lot. In the state I am in, I personally created programs for underprivileged youth and helped develop a job pipeline for those kids. However, I will always have someone try to counter my point with an Instagram influencer who has many followers but no actual political science or related background. Most Americans are politically illiterate, which causes the issues we face. The idea of fake it till you make it is harmful in this sector because you are actively trying to help the public. Yet, someone with money running for office may think they know more than the people who literally built their lives for this purpose. I could elaborate more, but as a nation, we are in serious trouble. Story 85. Bodybuilding competitions. We girls may look great, but in reality, we are hungry, miserable, and have lost our menstrual cycle by the time we hit the stage. Story 86. Academic science. The further you progress in your career, the more time you spend requesting funding, justifying expenses, and managing administrative tasks. By my 10th year, I spent more than half my time writing grant proposals. I had to dedicate the other 30 hours a week to conducting research, teaching, or attending classes. Essentially, you expect to spend all day in the laboratory making discoveries, but you are lucky to get published once a year. It amounts to 60 hours a week of mental stress. Story 87. Dentist. At one time, it was the profession with the highest suicide rate. Story 88. Diplomat. Career advances slowly, so there is competition among colleagues, flattering the ambassador while disregarding those who are lower in rank. Gossip, nasty games, spreading rumors, stealing good ideas from colleagues and presenting them as your own, unhappy spouses who get bored, especially if they cannot work, and a foreign affairs ministry that controls your fate. Story 89. Chief Executive Officer. My husband founded a company from nothing that now has more than 100 employees a decade later. We are incredibly blessed that it has been so successful, but at great cost. The chronic stress and workload have greatly impacted our lives, and I am counting the days until acquisition and being able to move on to the next chapter. Story 90. May be obscure for most people, but wedding planner and the wedding industry in general. Working most weekends, missing birthdays, our own family weddings and funerals, then turning around and doing administrative work during the week. 10 to 12-hour days on your feet, putting out small fires everywhere. It is truly a labor of love, and most people burn out very quickly. Story 91. Formula One tire changer is physically and mentally demanding. Story 92. Academia allows you to become a scientist and learn throughout your entire life. However, many academics must choose their jobs at the expense of their lifestyle. You have to be willing to relocate frequently, sometimes to remote or isolated locations. Schools are often located in unusual places with limited recreational opportunities. Story 93. Many people think police work is exciting because you get to carry a firearm and have some authority over others. However, burnout is significant. The main reward is the opportunity to work with dedicated colleagues while helping the community. Story 94. High-flying consultant types. The movie depicts sex, drugs, and company expenses. The truth is long hours, then back to your poor-quality hotel and more work. Yes, company expenses cover repeated takeout meals when you're craving home-cooked food. Missing your family 26 weeks a year. Story 95. The problem was you had to keep choosing between one evil or another, and no matter what you chose, they took a little bit more from you until there was nothing left. At the age of 25, most people were finished. A whole nation of people driving automobiles, eating, having babies, doing everything in the worst way possible, like voting for the presidential candidates who reminded them most of themselves. I had no interests. I had no interest in anything. I had no idea how I was going to escape. At least the others had some taste for life. They seemed to understand something that I did not understand. Maybe I was lacking. It was possible. I often felt inferior. I just wanted to get away from them, but there was no place to go. Charles Bukowski. Story 96. Being a professional musician. Sincerely, a former professional musician. Story 97. Park ranger in America. Hope you enjoy living in a trailer with 12 other people, getting paid pennies to drag deceased overweight individuals out of a river with no job security or benefits in a seasonal position. Then there is the urban park ranger, where you remove homeless people from city parks and clean up camps. Both are difficult jobs, and you will live with people constantly telling you that you have the best job. Story 98. Hello, lawyers. Take it from me. It is also stressful to think that others assume you are already wealthy just because you are a lawyer. Story 99. Being a horse trainer and owning a barn involve never-ending hours, fairly low pay, and dealing with difficult clients. This is why I never pursued that career path myself. Story 100. Doctors work horrible hours, see many patients who are rude or even abusive, and losing a patient while having to continue as if nothing happened is soul-crushing. For me, it feels very isolating because no one else can relate to what I go through in a workday. Story 101. Acting seems glamorous, but I bet the constant rejection is difficult. What is your opinion? Story 102. Radio is a fun and fairly easy job, but the salaries are very low for most. The hours are long, and working on holidays is common. Outside of the radio industry, your experience and skills are often undervalued. Story 103. Not as seriously miserable as some of the other careers mentioned, but working in fashion marketing and public relations. You are expected to work all hours of the day and are paid next to nothing. Story 104. Dog and pet groomer. The girl with the dogs has it easy. She cherry-picks what you see in her videos. Yes, there are cute dogs. It is cute to kiss them while you groom them. It is backbreaking work to wash a dog quickly. You have to do it fast because more clients mean an actual living wage. You breathe in particles and hair. Look up groomer's lung. You need ear protection, and even then, you can feel the damage from high-powered blowers, barking dogs, and fans running all the time in a small confined space on your hearing. You are always soaking wet. Your feet and hands will be in rough shape. Dogs bite. Dogs attack. You also see the worst of humanity and how people treat these animals. It is a lot of customer service. Is it a job artificial intelligence will take over? Absolutely not. As long as people love these designer doodles, you have job security. Story 105. Luxury hospitality and hotels. People can be very cruel when they expect you to be their servant because they paid a lot. It is not enjoyable, and you do not receive better perks than at other places, other than the building looking nicer. Story 106. Anything entertainment is seriously a draining industry full of complete narcissists who love the smell of their own egos and are demanding. Story 107. Animator for sure. Everyone says, "Oh, you do art for a living? That's awesome." It's not worth more than 60 hours a week. Story 108. Engineering. Those computer-aided design drawings you see on television? Yes, we rarely see that. It is mostly compliance, laws, reports, meetings, and repetition. Story 109. Broadcast journalist. A lot of yelling, cheap newsroom coffee, and stale food causing mice and ants. Constant canceled plans and social life falling apart because another earthquake, plane crash, or terror attack disrupts everything. Also non-stop stimulation and an expectation to be on call at all times for not nearly enough money. An army of eager college graduates will take your position if you are not ready for it. Story 110. Offensive security or ethical hacking consists of approximately 40% hacking and 60% reporting, which can sometimes amount to hundreds of pages per report. Client interactions can significantly influence the success of the entire engagement. The work can be incredibly draining. Story 111. Based on a few conversations I've had, Twitch streamer. Unless you are in the top 0.1%, you struggle to retain enough viewership to pay your bills. Unlike most jobs where you are either paid for sitting in one place for 8 hours or paid for producing enough of an object, your income over a day, week, or month can shift dramatically, and it is all your fault. Have a bad day? You lose 50 viewers. Most streamers have to play a single game forever. I have seen streamers with 1,000 viewers steadily switch games and lose 70% of their viewers. They grow to hate that game but cannot stop playing it. They can be subjected to abuse by random anonymous people at any time. They might be having a good day, and then someone in chat starts hurling abuse. They can ban that person, but it is still a psychic blow. People in the game might grief them. This happens all the time. Finally, the hours are nonstop. People think that a streamer logs in for a few hours, plays a game, gets paid, and leaves. Not if they want to pay rent. Outside of game time, they are on all social media platforms trying to connect to an audience and endlessly editing videos and shorts to feed the algorithm. If I take a vacation from work, I come back and my pay is the same. I have seen many streamers make it and decide to take some time off for their mental health. Then they come back and their viewership and income are cut in half. Story 112. Consulting involves traveling to small conference rooms across the country while working 55 to 75 hours a week for a client who often resents your presence. Story 113. Making video games is amazing for independent developers, but the pay is unsustainable. Corporate game development is awful, soul-draining, and just terrible. Story 114. Every career is challenging. The modern world is difficult. Living in a late-stage capitalist society can be very hard. Story 115, modeling. You have little to no control over your own experiences. Your agency decides who you model for, what your look is, and who you can be seen with by the paparazzi. You have to constantly maintain your shape and beauty, so you need a strict diet, exercise routine, and sleep and beauty treatments. You can't ever have a day off because it affects how you look. It's also boring. Most of it isn't glamorous at all. There is lots of standing while preparations are made, lots of hair and makeup, many outfits you'll hate wearing, and a lot of awkward posing. You get invited to all the big parties and meet celebrities, but you have to watch yourself at everything. You can't have too much food, alcohol, or anything fun. Your outfit is usually given and expected back by a designer, so you must make sure you don't ruin it. Fashion runway models experience even more challenges. They have weeks of practice walking for specific runways, their diet is even more restricted, the hours are longer, the stress is higher, and no one has fun until the after party, which once again they can't fully enjoy because they are technically still working. The pay is not great overall, but it is supplemented by free apartments with 9 roommates and free clothes. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.